All right, for our last model, we are going to look at question 3, the argument one. Again, in the video, I said that, well, here's my claim exactly from the video. A class in creativity would be logistically infeasible and expensive, therefore it should not be required. There I very clearly pointed out my opinion on whether this class should exist or not. My first body paragraph was going to talk about it pragmatically. So my claim is right here: creativity cannot pragmatically or effectively be taught. And then from there, these are just evidence that I came up with myself. Remember, with the argument question, you're not getting any sources, you're not getting a passage, so the examples have to come from you. So I picked out a couple things because we'd talked about how scheduling would be difficult. So I talked about how a freshman schedule at Cheyenne is pretty low on available room as it is. And then we talked about what would qualify someone to teach it, or how would you even go about teaching it. So I cited the fact that new legislation in our country requires highly qualified teachers, and I'm not sure you can be a highly qualified teacher in creativity specifically. So those are the examples that I'm going to use. We'll see if I can fit both of them in, but like I said, it's kind of just like my brainstorm at the top of the sheet. So first things first, I bet you can guess, is my claim. Creativity cannot pragmatically, remember that means like logistically, or effectively be taught. So then I'm going to transition into my first piece of evidence. So I'll say logistically, such a class would create unnecessary pressure on already packed schedules. For instance, at Cheyenne High School, a freshman only has room for half a year of elective courses after required courses are taken into account. Okay, so I've just kind of paraphrased the situation as best as I can. And now what I want to do is point out, why does that create the scheduling issue? This means that if another required course was added, there would be even less room for things like music and foreign language classes. Okay, so I've kind of explained the pragmatic issue, but now I want to point out how this connects to the idea of a class. So adding this course would mean sacrificing these valuable classes, making it impractical to expect students who are already overscheduled hyphen. I lost my train of thought. So adding this course would mean sacrificing these valuable courses, making it impractical to expect students who are already overscheduled to take on another class. Again, I kind of ran out of room. I could go into my second argument here, so I'm just going to kind of wrap up this first half, like I did with the last video. Take another class. So I'll just kind of end with it simply. Therefore, a required course in creativity is an unnecessary strain. Did I already say that? I feel like I already said unnecessary something. Maybe. An unnecessary strain on students and resources. Okay. Now, like I said, I would go on in my paragraph, and then I could talk about how it's impractical for someone to teach that course using my little child left behind. But really, I mean, this is a body paragraph in itself. Those high-scoring essays, the ones that are going to get like 3s and 4s out of their evidence and commentary, yeah, they're probably going to use multiple pieces of evidence and really develop a rich explanation for each one. But this would be like a low 3 out of the scale. So again, let's kind of break down what we have here. I have my claim right here. Again, whether or not the class should exist. And then my evidence is right here. Okay, and then first I've done is I've explained what this would mean. So what is the impact, or explaining why my piece of evidence matters in general. But then I'm going to connect it to why it is not pragmatic, saying that it's impractical. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to do is connect back to the idea of this required course and that it should not exist. And that would be a very basic argument paragraph. A couple things I do want to point out before we move on at this last one is that you'll notice I have 3 lines of evidence and a lot more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of commentary. A good way to do a check if you are explaining things well enough is to compare the amount of, like the percentage of your paragraph that's evidence versus commentary, because there should always be more commentary. Because remember, when you're doing that step, you, 1, need to explain the evidence, like I did in the first sentence. Then you need to link it to your topic sentence. In this one, I linked back to why it is not pragmatic or not practical to have a class. And then you need to link back to the thesis up here, which is what I did in the final paragraph, talking about why the course is unnecessary.